Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce, episode 398. Thank y'all very much for tuning in this afternoon. It is now this afternoon, not this morning. If you notice, I always do my chat on there when I get everything going, and I got to do my chat within 60 minutes of the start because if your chat is 60 minutes or more, uh, Rumble takes them away. So I got to leave it on long enough so y'all can see it, so y'all know I'm starting up at 12. But I always put good morning because when I'm writing it, it's morning time. Now it's afternoon. All right. All right. So now we all learn something. I am not going to get through this this lineup I have for the day. This is unbelievable, and I just watched a news briefing a while ago um, with RFK Jr. and Colin McDonald up in Minneapolis talking about they just charged uh, 15 people with $90 million of Medicare and Medicaid fraud, just stealing from elderly and poor citizens of our country that need services. And a lot of it was coming from autism diagnoses that were never serviced. They were just floating paper, getting money, and then living life high on the hog, which is unbelievable. Um, let's see. I know I'm live, but let me refresh this to make sure I'm coming up. Man, what in the world? Let me do it one more time. Hmm. If y'all, okay, I know I'm live, but if it's someone that's watching, if y'all see me or can hear me, chat something in the chat for me, okay? All right, so I'll carry on with everything else that's going on. Alrighty, so welcome to the JPA report. As we get started, waiting for my ugly mug to show up on the screen here, click that follow button to follow the podcast, and then give me a like for the episode, and then chat with us. Um, uh, yeah, like I said, if you can see me online right now, give me a chat, okay? That would be great. But this is crazy that. Gotcha. Okay, good. Thanks, Ricky. I just don't see myself on video. See, it's good to have good friends on Rumble with you. They take care of you. All right, so we'll continue on. So America 250. So the second thing that dropped, besides what I read this morning with General Washington going to Philadelphia uh, to confer with the Second Continental Congress, also the day the Maryland Convention strictly prohibited its delegates in the Second Continental Congress from voting for independence. I said that right. My own daughter last night, when I was telling her what I was putting on her, she said, "Are you serious?" Because we all think that everyone in the Second Continental Congress was pro-independence, but not everybody in the colonies was pro-independence. Um, So, man, hopefully that. Well, I don't know what the ratio of Maryland delegates that were in the Second Continental Congress actually signed the Declaration of Independence. They just might have thumbed their nose um, at their states and just signed it because that happens sometimes, right? Um, but yeah, that could easily have happened. Man, let me hit refresh again and see if I come up. Yep, there I am. Okay. Woo-hoo. All right. So we got done with the America 250. Now we have whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service. Jason at the Armament Shop in Coppers Cove is your premier source for all things shooting. Um, okay. All things shooting. Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. You need a transfer? We make FFL transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? Jason can handle those classes. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the Armament Shop today at 115A West Avenue D in Coppers Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023, or visit them at www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. All right. Sorry I stalled like that at the onset talking about the Armament Shop, but there was a breaking news that came across my watch, and it was about the Minnesota Medicare Medicaid fraud thing I was telling you about. All right. But we got that. One thing before I get into the Iran update is Spaceship 12 is going to get launched today, 6:30 Eastern time. That's 5:30 Central for all of us great Texans, right? So yeah, and they'll be having a new VIC-3, the V3 fuselage. So it's supposed to be the largest rocket ever launched in the world. All right. So that's another thing. All right. Iran update. Project Freedom. The spiritual leader. This came out this morning, and the president a while ago when he was talking on there. Another thing, which I didn't write down, was that the president lifted regulations on refrigerants that the Biden administration outlawed in 2023. So he lifted the restrictions on that. So it makes it easier for HVAC contractors and grocery stores and stuff like that with their refrigeration systems. Because the way the coolants were supposed to be a lot more expensive. They said it was supposed to be friendlier to the environment, but it didn't work as well as the older stuff, and it drew more electricity through their machines. All right. So the president, through Lee Zeldin at the Environmental Protection Agency, lifted those restrictions this morning by executive order. All right. So would you believe we still got Piggly Wiggly franchises inside the United States? There was a guy that represented Piggly Wiggly, and he said there's 200 franchise stores in the southeast part of the United States. I thought Piggly Wiggly, we used to have one here in Coppers Cove before I got here in 2008. But yeah, I thought Piggly Wiggly was gone. I remember going into them in Fort Worth when I was growing up. Matter of fact, that's where Piggly Wiggly started, I believe, was in Fort Worth, Texas. But Piggly Wiggly was represented. At Piggly Wiggly, they had Kroger, and they had a couple more grocery stores I didn't recognize either. All right, back to the Iran update. I went from Iran to grocery store. I don't know sometimes. All right, Ricky, keep me on track. All right, so the spiritual leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini Jr., says enriched uranium must stay in Iran. The president of the United States said he does not understand the ramifications of those statements because he is not going to keep that uranium, enriched uranium, inside that country. Iran is using it as one of their red lines. Yeah, it's going to be a red line, all right. It's going to be a red face, not from embarrassment. It's going to be from other things. But the Ayatollah, he thinks he can keep all that uranium. He's sadly mistaken. Okay, it may accelerate the decision-making process through the proper troop leading procedures and operations for the military, and it may happen sooner than you think. Okay. Today, over 95 vessels have been turned back to Iranian ports. FIFA, I reported this morning, FIFA says it will not allow pre-1979 Iranian flag to display to any of the World Cup soccer games that the Iranian team is participating in. I don't know how they could enforce that inside the United States because we do have the freedom of speech in our country. I would like to see how that one's going to get enforced. Iran claims U.S. is willing to unfreeze $25 billion in frozen Iranian assets to get a nuclear deal. Everyone's saying, nope, that's wrong. Oil prices seem to be starting to come down some. They did go up mid-afternoon levels. I just wrote them down. Trump and Bibi Netanyahu held a very tense phone call about the status in Iran. It seems like Bibi is ready to go, and the president wants to give Iran a little bit more time. Okay. The Secretary of War, along with the Vice President, said the U.S. is locked and loaded and ready to go. Iran says they have prepped for every scenario. Iranian president and the Pakistan Interior Ministry held talks yesterday. I don't know if they were in Islamabad or in Tehran. My choice, if I was that Pakistani and said, call me or come to Islamabad, one of the two. And then the IRGC predicts a devastating blow to U.S. forces if we attack again. Let's put money on that one. All right. And then again, I reiterate, there's a $200,000 reward for that Miss Witt. She's a former U.S. Air Force lady that is accused of espionage and selling secrets to the IRGC. Please, someone give her up. Give us that 8-digit grid where she's located at. We can take care of the rest, along with the Ayatollah Khomeini. Give us his location, 6 or 8-digit grid. We can take care of the rest, okay? Bring this war to an end really quick. Brent crude oil was trading just about 30 minutes ago at $107.71 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate was back up over $100 a barrel at $101.42. And the Dow Jones slipped below 50,000 points a little while ago at 49,909.17, I think it was. Okay, it's close enough. It was down 99 points, okay? So that is your Iran update for right now. So next is early voting here in Texas. Early voting is here in Texas is from the 18th, which was a couple days ago, through tomorrow evening, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There's no weekend voting for this runoff. In Coryell County, where I'm located at, for the early voting, you can vote at the Gatesville tax office or the Coppers Cove tax office, which is their early vote centers. And on Tuesday, when they have the regular runoff election, you'll be able to vote at the Gatesville Civic Center and at the Gatesville tax office. And in Coppers Cove, you'll be able to vote at the Civic Center in Coppers Cove and the tax office early vote center in Coppers Cove. And I was looking at some balloting stuff right now, and in primary, Coppers Cove had a 53 to 47 split for Republican and Democrat drawing ballots. As of right now, it's 89% Republican and 11% Democrat in Coppers Cove. The Democrats are not showing up. They don't have a lot to choose from on their runoff ballot. There's only like 2 races or 3 races statewide. So that's probably the reason why they're not coming out to vote. But there's as of last night, there was 1,700 and so ballots for the Republicans, and about 500 of them, about 700 of them voted in Coppers Cove. So a lot more people north of the Cowhouse Creek are voting in the Republican runoff than in the Copperas Cove region. All right, so get to the brass tacks. So my recommendations for this race is for U.S. Senate. I want Ken Paxton. For the Texas Attorney General, I want Mays Middleton. For Texas Railroad Commission, Beau French. I write it down and I'm still stumbling. The Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3, Allison Fox. Coryell County Judge, Rob Irwin. County Commissioners, Place 2, Scott Weddle. And County Commissioner, Place 4, Justin Smith. Those are my decisions, my recommendations. Take it as you like. You don't have to follow my recommendations at all. All four men are really good in those county commissioner slots. Any one of the four are great. So you got a good selection. These are the two I just choose. Now the county judge one, I'm all in for Rob Irwin. The other one, no. Vote Rob Irwin. All right. So just go out and vote. All right. You have the rest of the day, all day tomorrow, and all day Tuesday. All right. So that's it. So let's go. We will start at. Oh, and I stopped at Buc-ee's this morning. If you didn't know, that's the one of the best convenience stores around. Matter of fact, their bathrooms are the cleanest around, and there's people stop to go to the bathroom, and they usually spend $50 to $100 more on stuff on the inside of it. I walked out $25 less. I bought my wife a Buc-ee's shirt for her 250th anniversary of the country, and bought myself a breakfast sandwich and tea. All right. So first thing up, this just came out. It's a rundown on the autopsy that the Democrats wrote up about how they lost the 2024, a year and a half ago, presidential election, and they did not want to release it. Matter of fact, I put a copy of it in the comments section. So if you want to copy that link and put it in your browser and bring it up, you can, right? They edited parts of it where we can't even read it. They released it, but they edited it. Go figure, right? They blew a gasket over the Epstein files when the Department of Justice went and edited, redacted parts of it where you couldn't read it. And they did the same thing on this thing. And nobody is blowing a gasket, right? So I didn't, and it's like 125 pages long. I'm going to read from this to get a good rundown of what they said. I can tell you the secret. TRUMP. That's why they lost. All right? TRUMP. Tango Romeo Uniform Mike Papa. Need I say more, right? MAGA. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. And a drunk Democrat candidate. So, the summary of this is why I said lie, cheat, and steal, and they won't admit it. Okay? So, we have the lie. The lie is Graham Plattner, what he said about Chris Kyle a couple months ago, which just came out yesterday. Cheat is what the California people were doing by signing up and paying people to register to vote and to go mail in ballots. Steal is this one I got to go over in just a little bit, is this prosecutor to work for Judge Cannon's office down in Florida. She worked for Judge Cannon's office, but she was assigned to Jack Smith's criminal prosecution team that were legally trying to prosecute President Trump. What she did with trying to email the part two of that Judge Cannon said will not be published because it was totally factless, right? So she was trying to email it to herself, and get this, she changed the name of the file and the subject line to desserts. Like one was a fudge brownie, and the other one uh, was a bundt cake. But the Department of Justice saw what she was doing because they can electronically monitor your computer account because you give them permission to do that. Anything you send over the net in the government system, believe it or not, goes through a filter, and they look for stuff like that. So, my next question was, why was the lady, if she was at work, why was she looking at recipes in the first place? That's where she messed up at, okay? Yeah. So lie, cheat, and steal, and then they won't admit with this that they did wrong, right? That they messed up. They messed up by allowing some lady that never received a single delegate by vote ever to run for president. Okay. So let's see what they were saying on here. Remember, this is just a summary through Fox News. This isn't from what they were trying to hide from us on the PDF. But do me a favor, if you want to read this later on, go to the comment section of this podcast, and I got the link there, okay? It's 125 pages, so just read it electronically. Don't try to print it off because your printer may break on you because the lies that are coming out of the Democrat document. So Democrat National Committee Chair Ken Martin, who's from Minnesota, is publicly disowning his party's own 2024 election autopsy, calling the long-delayed report a product that does not meet my standards after Democrats suffered what he described as a painful and consequential defeat to President Donald J. Trump. The blunt admission came as Martin described former Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 defeat as a punch in the gut, quote unquote, and acknowledged the Democrat Party's brand is in trouble and needs repair because you are in the hand of extremists on the very far left. Okay. I am not proud of this product. It does not meet my standards, and it won't meet your standards, Martin said of the report, adding that he could not, quote, in good faith, put the DNC stamp of approval on it, unquote. So who wrote it? And if you don't agree with it, you're doing something wrong because you're refusing to learn from the mistakes y'all were making. Martin emphasized that he was releasing the report as, quote, as I receive it in its entirety, unedited, unabridged, with annotations and claims that could not be verified for the sake of transparency. But when you open up the file, the leader's report is blank, totally. So yeah, he lied through it too. The report argues Democrats weakened their own political infrastructure through cuts to state party support, declining voter registration efforts, and reduced grassroots organizing, while also failing to listen to key voting blocs. Mistakes, it says, allowed Republicans to make gains with voters. Democrats have extremely struggled to reach, particularly in middle America. What happened to the $1.7 billion that Kamala Harris's campaign spent for this campaign? Someone needs to be held accountable for that. Following the Democrats' sweeping losses in the 2024 election cycle, if y'all got comments about this, put them in the comment section and also put them in the chat section. All right. The DNC launched an internal autopsy investigating where the party fell short in securing a win in both the presidential election and the majority in Congress. Democrat Party officials interviewed over 300 Democrats from all 50 states for the report, which Martin promised would examine the party's mistakes in 2024 and offer a roadmap to victory going forward. There was a controversy surrounding the report as it was being compiled after reports last summer said the autopsy would skip analyzing whether then President Joe Biden, or the autopin, should have run for re-election in 2024 and would pass on judging key decisions made by Harris and her team after she replaced Biden as the party's nominee with just over 3 months to go until the 2024 election. Facing growing calls from Democrats to release the report, DNC officials had argued the report was being withheld ahead of midterms to keep the party focused on retaking the House and Senate in November. Martin said in a statement that if releasing an autopsy will not help Democrats win in the midterms, then it's surely a distraction. Other Democrats argued publicly releasing the autopsy before the midterm would improve transparency and help the party regroup ahead of November's elections. That's all the summary says, right? The Democrats, free crossover surgeries are not free. Absolutely correct, man. And it invites that person to go see a mental psychologist also. And then that was a comment made on the live chat if you're watching video on demand. So what am I saying? So Trump is the reason why they lost. Kamala Harris is absolutely the reason they lost. There needs to be an investigation on what happened to the $1.7 billion that was spent on this said election, because the President Trump spent close to like $450 million and got elected. And Kamala Harris spent $1.7 billion and failed to win. Where did all that money go? Whose pockets did that end up in? Because there needs surely to be an investigation on what happened there. They don't conform to the beliefs of the citizens of our country. You have Republicans that are doing their best. We're not perfect, but we have Republicans doing their best to bring freedom to our country, to our citizens, through reduced illegal immigration, through reduced dependency on the federal government to be able to live, to be free to go do what you want to do without the threat of the government breathing down on you through law enforcement, through legal stuff, through enhanced regulations on your life. I mean, like today, the president just lifted through executive order the regulations on refrigerant used in HVAC and refrigeration systems, the Freon, right? That stuff. I don't know what refrigerant ones that they did, but evidently they were more expensive and didn't work right. All right. So that was the won't admit, right? So the next one we'll go through is steel. Okay. So let me bring that one out. Oh yeah, right here. She pled not guilty too. So we got that one done. So I got this one from Just the News, and it's been on the news somewhat this morning, right? A federal prosecutor in the office that helped handle Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith's classified documents case regarding his investigation into Donald Trump was charged Wednesday, which was yesterday, for allegedly illegally emailing herself a copy of the materials disguised as cake recipes. Like I said, why would she be at work with and emailing cake recipes? You should be doing some type of law enforcement stuff. The department announced the indicted prosecutor, her name is Carmen Mercedes Leinberger, a managing assistant to U.S. Attorney of the Fort Pierce branch of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida. Leinberger has been charged with 2 counts of theft of government money or property, the destruction, alteration, because she changed the name of the file, and falsification of records in federal investigations, and with the concealment, removal, or mutilation of public records. The charges against Leinberger were filed in the Northern District of Florida. She pled not guilty on Wednesday. The department, in announcing the charges, said in a separate instances in late 2025, Leinberger altered the electronic names of the government records that she received in her official capacity to conceal her unauthorized electronic transmission of the records to personal email accounts belonging to her without being detected. The altered government records include a document that included parts of internal DOJ electronic messages, an internal DOJ memorandum, and a DOJ report related to the criminal prosecution that had been court-ordered to remain under seal and prohibited from distribution or disclosure outside of the department, the DOJ also said. Leinberger allegedly attempted to conceal her actions by saving electronic copies of the government records in question under misleading file names such as chocolate cake recipe, bundt cake recipe, before emailing the documents to her personal email accounts. The DOJ also said Wednesday that Leinberger also acted knowing that her transmission of the record outside DOJ directly violated the court order and impaired the improper administration of the underlying prosecution. This afternoon, a former managing assistant of the U.S. Attorney who supported Jack Smith's politicized investigation of President Trump has been charged with stealing the confidential investigation documents. Kash Patel said on Wednesday on X, the FBI will not hesitate to bring to account those who violated the trust of the American public in an investigation that should never have brought to begin with. And then we'll end it with this part. Judge Eileen Cannon, who oversaw this element of Smith's special counsel investigation, ruled in February 2026, that's just 3 months ago, that then Attorney General Pam Bondi and all DOJ officials and employees were all barred from releasing, transmitting, or sharing the second volume of Smith's report on Trump. That would include Ms. Leinberger. I don't know what some of these people think they can do by doing that stuff. And that the rookie mistake of changing a file name to just people notice that stuff. We have sniffers inside of government computers and servers that look for file names being changed. If I, like on my OBS, right? This thing is so smart. If I change the name of one of my files and bring up my OBS, I wish I could show you this, but right now if I bring it up, it'll say file missing because I changed the name of it or deleted it. So people know what the people in the know, and you can't get away with stuff like that. And she was ordered by a federal district judge not to release it, and she did it anyway. We found out about it that fast. Just go back about 3 years when the Dodds report was released, right? And about 2 months before it was released, it got leaked to the public, and the Supreme Court Investigating Service never found the person that released the report. Someone did, and they need better law enforcement, because if our Department of Justice can find this fast, maybe they need to upgrade the the police force that protects all of our IT services and our Supreme Court justices also. All right. So we did won't admit it. We did steal, right? Lie, cheat, and okay. So we'll go to the cheat part. So we got that part done, right? What are we doing on time? It's already 12:36. Whew. Hey, as I'm regrouping right here, as we do the cheat part of this, if you are not already a follower of the JP8 report, please click the. I know my numbers are down right now, and it sounds like I'm begging. I'm not. I'm going to do this whether I have 5 viewers or 375 viewers or 10,000 viewers. All right. It's only, I have to do this to get my numbers, to keep them going and stuff. So please click that follow button for me, and then click that like button for me for the post itself, right? And then chat with me and Ricky, and then put some posts in the comment section, all right? So let's get back to this. So I went over some of this morning, and in California, they got a primary going on. The primary day is June 2nd, which is a week and a half away, right? And in California, they have a jungle primary, which is, it was voter approved in 2010. It was voter approved in 2010, which eliminated the traditional primary system they use. So you have a Democrat primary, a Republican primary, a Green primary, and a mentally ill communist primary. Okay, so in 2010, these Democrats thought of something better. How about we manipulate the election system enough so we can guarantee Democrats get elected? It worked. So what they did was created the jungle primary. So where the primaries are done in California, the top 2 candidates automatically advance to November. So what they would do is put enough Democrats in there to be able to get enough votes, because there are that many Democrats in California. So what they'll do is they'll get 2 Democrats to finish first and second, and then a Republican will come in third place, and they don't advance. So it's no more like you have a Republican against a Democrat and Green, Libertarian and stuff. In California, it's a possibility you have 2 parties from two representatives from each party lock out the rest of the people. So fast forward from 2010 to 2025, 2026, which is 16 years, right? And in the gubernatorial primary going on right now, Steve Hilton is first place. And then you have Javier Becerra. But a little bit further behind is Chad Bianco. He's a Republican, and so is Hilton. And for weeks, they were both 1 and 2. And they would interchange every now and then, but they were 1 and 2. Bianco has slipped back some now, but they are scared to death in California that they could have been 2 Republicans, 1 and 2, and there would be no chance of a Democrat being elected governor in November. So what to do about that? Like I said earlier, the Battle of the Alamo. You don't like the outcome. It it was a debate from Colonel William Barrett Travis and Colonel James Bowie. Okay, there was a vote. William Barrett Travis didn't like the outcome and said, "Well, militia is not part of the regular army; and they can't do that." Um, and then Jim Bowie says, "You don't like the outcome, so you change the rules." That's exactly what they're trying to do in California. There is um, um, there is a person trying in the state legislature. It says right here, the Republicans were shut out in California in the U.S. Senate primary in 2018. And that was that was when Kamala Harris was elected to the Senate. So like cheat, right? Cheat. She shouldn't even been a senator, right? If there was a okay, let me read this. Okay, let's see. We'll skip that part. Hilton claimed that Newsom's comments were a tactic to split the Republican voters. That's true. He's trying to he's not trying a full. He's not trying to stop a top two Republican outcome because that's not possible. Never was, because like I was saying about Chad Bianco, Weird Clear Politics shows that Hilton's leading the pack of candidates, and Javier Becerra is in a close second. The Hilton argued that it would be Newsom's ideal scenario to have two Democrats facing off, saying it would deflect attention from Newsom's appalling record as he eyes a 2028 presidential run. Newsom and the Democrats are fear-mongering over an R versus R matchup in the general election because precisely to encourage Republicans to split their votes, and thus guaranteeing an all-Democrat top two. That's right, Porter and Becerra. The video released on X Tuesday, Hilton called on his Republican opponent to drop out of the race in an effort to ensure the Republican is on the ballot. Political strategists have said there's a valid fear among both Democrats and Republicans that their party could be shut out of the general election due to the jungle primary, which went into effect after a statewide referendum in 2010. This is really the first gubernatorial election where there's no obvious winner. That's why it's such a tense thing. Richard Winger, owner of the Ballot Access News, told Fox News. Winger and former Democrat State Senator Dario Fromer pointed to other races where the seat was open and two candidates of the same party were running against each other in the general election. The Republicans were shut out in the California U.S. Senate primary in 2018 when the top two vote getters were Kamala Harris and Linda Sanchez. There have been other races where Republicans or Democrats were shut out in the general election because of the top two. I think early on there was a genuine concern of the Democrat Party because there were so many Democrat candidates that Hilton and Bianco were going to be the top two vote getters. Now that's changed a bit. But at the same time, Farmer said Democrats aren't in the clear either. Usually, did I miss a page? Man. Usually there's a lot more people out voting by this point, and they're not. And so I think the concern is for Democrats that people wait too long to fill out the ballots, and there's only two Republican candidates. The fear of either party being shut out of the general election this fall has prompted Democrat strategist Steve Malivio to organize a ballot initiative. This is the important part. To eliminate the jungle primary system, a measure that could appear on the 2028 ballot. I think if 2 Republicans make the ballot or if 2 Democrats make the ballot, then voter outrage will be high, and that will only focus on just what a failed experiment this is. All right? So that's where they cheated at, right? Not only did they cheat, they really cheated. Hold on just a second. Because someone just went to jail for it. All right. Thank y'all, everyone that's hanging in there and listening to me. All right. Despite evidence to the contrary, this is left's election fraud denials crumble as DOJ exposes 2-decade-long California cheating scheme. This is from Just the News. All right. Despite evidence to the contrary, liberal voting activists have spent years minimizing cheating concerns and portraying those who want to investigate such problems as election deniers. But the Justice Department, FBI, and Homeland Security are now systematically exposing electoral fraud from non-citizen voting to ballot box stuffing schemes that are turning the table on in epic fashion. The latest strike came Monday when a longtime voting activist in California reached a deal with federal prosecutors to admit to illegally paying homeless people to sign election petitions and paying people to register to vote in a 2-decade scheme that allegedly leveraged the Democrat-run state lax mail-in voting system, which sends ballots to forms to everyone, whether they ask for them or not. The felony charge and plea deal came Monday against Brenda Lee Brown Armstrong of Marina Del Rey. Not only, that was a beautiful song by George Strait, but that's not what this one's about. Not only signals an investigation into others, it likely will provide legal fodder for the U.S. Justice Department's efforts to force California to turn over voter registration database to look for other abuses. That case and others like it against blue states are working their way through the federal courts in a major initiative led by Assistant Attorney General Harmit Dillon. That's one lady you never ever want to cross. Prosecutors in Armstrong spent 2 decades collecting ballot registration forms, including California's high-profile voter initiatives. On occasion, Brown targeted homeless people on Skid Row in Los Angeles, offering them money to fill out forms and even sometimes letting them use their own address to put on the forms. The plea deal mentioned Armstrong was paid by coordinators to gather signatures for ballots, and she used some of the money to enlist people to register to vote and sign petitions. Because her coordinators only paid for signatures that attributed to registered voters, Armstrong endeavored to ensure the people who signed the petitions were registered voters, but they still paid for them to sign them. Armstrong regularly paid and offered to pay individuals cash, usually in amounts of $2 and $3, to induce them to sign the petitions, DOJ said, adding in January, she knowingly and willfully paid another person to register to vote. She paid the person for the purpose of causing that person to register to vote in federal elections. Federal prosecutors have not yet disclosed how many registrations or petition signatures are involved in the case. Needless, the scheme puts another powerful admission on record that America's election system can and is being abused. You know, like I said earlier, I'm a DVR, the Deputy Voter Registrar in Bell County, Texas, and in Coryell County, Texas. And they made it clear to us You are not to pay people to register to vote. You are not to pay people to sign petitions when you go around to get people on the ballot or for initiatives, right? And you are not, oh great, what did I forget? Oh yeah, on registration forms, if you know someone's a Democrat and you don't process uh, their registration form, you also broke the law there too. This lady's in trouble. And if it's not just one person, because she said she had a coordinator, how many other people are involved in this scheme? How much stuff was actually illegally passed to ballots that shouldn't have passed, right? All right. So oh no, we got to do the light part now. Okay. This involves a U.S. military veteran. All right. Man, this is fun today. Where are we at? 12:51. I don't care. I'm going to keep going. So Graham Plattner, he's Oyster Boy. Okay. If you ever hear me say Oyster Boy, I mean Graham Plattner. And you know what? He can come down to my house if he wants. I got something for him because there's no trespassing my property. All right. Do you know what he said in 2024? This stupid, good for nothing, sorry excuse should never have been a Marine in the first place ever in his life. And I wouldn't doubt if he got kicked out of the Marines. Okay. I would not be surprised. Headline from the Free Beacon. Graham Plattner smeared murdered American sniper Chris Kyle, a U.S. Navy SEAL, in a podcast rant claiming Navy SEALs shot innocent civilians. They get high numbers. If you don't know Chris Kyle, he is the Navy sniper that has the highest number of recorded sniper kills in the history of the U.S. military. Okay, he's from Texas. He lived in Midlothian, which is just south of Dallas. He was murdered on February 2nd, 2012. I think 2012 or 2013. All right. He was in Ramadi. He was part of SEAL Team 6. I think it was SEAL Team 6. And this is what Graham Plattner said. Hold on. Man, I got to sneeze on air. This is unbelievable. Hold on. Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner suggested that legendary American sniper Chris Kyle shot innocent civilians in Iraq in order to inflate his kill numbers. Plattner also bristled at the idea of the former Navy SEAL and his platoon being dubbed heroes, quote unquote. Plattner, running for Senate against Senator Susan Collins, lashed out at Kyle and members of the SEALs Task Unit Bruiser in May 2024 podcast interview on Green Beret Chronicle show, in which Plattner, a former Marine, discussed his deployment in 2006 Ramadi, a hotbed of insurgent activity during the Iraq War. In the interview, Plattner, who did not belong to an elite special forces unit like the SEALs, took issue with public portrayals of Task Unit Bruiser and Kyle as heroes of the Iraq War. Quote, Kyle's stories about how many people he was shooting certainly tracked with the behavior I witnessed in Ramadi, said Plattner. It's relatively easy to get high numbers like that if you are a little less discriminating in your fire than, say, a more professional unit would be. Plattner claimed that members of Task Unit Bruiser, led by then Navy SEAL Commander Jocko Willing, I think they misspelled his name, because I see him on TV a lot, shot unarmed. This is what Plattner said. Shot unarmed civilians from their position of the government center in Ramadi, where American forces stationed throughout 2006. He said, I almost felt like there was like a weird practical joke being played on me by the war, like all these years later, like I'm like having like people are telling me like, oh, look how great this guy is. These guys are amazing heroes. This whole thing, incredible thing, said Plattner, the paragon of leadership. And I'm just sitting here like I'm living in like an alternate reality, because this is like the exact opposite of my experience. Kyle, which is widely regarded as a war hero and is believed to be the most gifted sniper of the Iraq War, earning his nickname as the Devil of Ramadi for the dozens of Iraqi surgeons he killed in the Battle of Ramadi. Kyle, who published his autobiography American Sniper in 2012, was murdered on his ranch in 2013 on February 2nd by a former Marine whom Kyle was taken under his wing while the man suffered from PTSD. Kyle's autobiography was the basis of Clint Eastwood's 2014 film with Bradley Cooper, and that's the end of that. Oh no, there's more. Plattner suggested in other remarks on the podcast that he did not know who Kyle was until after he read Kyle's autobiography, raising question how Plattner knew Kyle was less discriminating about who he shot in Iraq. Because he's just flapping his gums and talking about stuff he has no idea about. He put in there, I didn't know who these guys were. Then how in the world did he even say anything about these guys? He's just making junk up, totally. Man, like I said the other day, if I could possibly reach across a table and rip his throat out, I would. Because he is a disrespectful, I don't know how he was in the United States Marine Corps. I give him the respect that he's a veteran. That's all. That's all. Man. Then he goes in there, Susan Collins voted to send me to Iraq. She authorized the authorized use of military force, but the president activated his unit and he went to Iraq. Doesn't matter. If you didn't want to take the chance of being deployed into combat, you should never have joined, dude. Whether you liked the war or not. I bet you liked it back then. I bet you liked all that deployment money you got while you were there. Man. If you think he deserves your vote in the state of Maine, you don't need to be voting. Because we don't need people like that representing people in the United States Senate. Mr. Oyster Boy. Okay, let me mark that off. And got those done. All right, so what are we looking at now? We're at 1 o'clock. Wow. All right. This is good news. Poland is expected to receive its first F-35 fighter jets very, very soon. They're Gen 5 stealth fighters. Polish Deputy Defense Minister Zaleski told Fox News as American and Polish forces prepare together as a key part of a NATO air base near the alliance's eastern flank. Fox News received exclusive access to Poland's 32nd Tactical Air Base in Lansk, where commanders pointed to the hangars being prepared for the arrival of the fifth-gen aircraft, part of Poland's $4.6 billion purchase of 32 F-35s from Lockheed Martin. The jets have not gotten there yet, but they're steadily training with American co-pilots. All right, Polish and American personnel train, operate, and in some cases are stationed together on a base, reflecting the unusual close military relationship between Warsaw and Washington. Colonel Nanalowski said that the 52nd Operations Group Detachment 1 of the U.S. Air Force, originally from New York and stationed in Poland for the past 5 years, told Fox News that Poland's military modernization has significantly deepened cooperation between the two militaries. We are experiencing incredible support from the Polish provided logistics support and Polish provided infrastructure. That's awesome news. All right. They're probably one of our staunchest allies in the world. The Polish, the Kuwaitis, South Koreans, and Japanese. Okay, we'll go with that. All right. So Poland is about to receive 32 F-35 fighters. Awesome. All right, next. Here we go. Texas Democrat Maureen Galindo facing backlash for pledging to imprison American Zionists in an ICE facility, and then castrate them also, right? And then she's trying to become the congressional representative in CD. My wife just left. She just texted me. In CD 35, you need to vote for, don't vote for Galindo or Garcia on the Democrat ticket, cross over to the Republican ticket. And you have De La Cruz. That's the guy I think is in the lead on the Republican side. You need to vote for him. But I just read just a few minutes ago, Moskowitz said that if this lady somehow got elected in Texas to represent Congress, that they would hold a vote every day to have her expelled from Congress until the Congress expelled her from Congress. All right. So you can waste your vote on her. You can. Matter of fact, I know I shouldn't do this. If you are a Democrat and you're voting in the Democrat primary in CD 35 in Texas, vote for Maureen Galindo. Do it. Let her win the nomination. We'll go with that. So if you're voting Democrat down in CD 35, I think that's over by San Antonio. But yeah, vote Maureen Galindo in the Democrat primary if you're a Democrat, okay? If you're a Republican, stay away from that. It's toxic. My wife just said bye. Love y'all. All right. So I still got a couple more stories here. Okay, I'm going to hold off on that. Well, no, I'm going to talk about this one real quick. Another bit of cool news that I just read about a few minutes ago. How many people we got online right now? Wow, we're doing pretty good still. All right. So how many of y'all watched 13 Hours? It's about the story of Benghazi. That happened in 2012 on September 11th. Michael Bay made that movie, and he did a really good job on that movie, right? Guess what he's going to do? Michael Bay to direct the true story of the mission to save 2 pilots in Iran during Operation Epic Fury. Award-winning film director Michael Bay will direct a new movie depicting the true story of a rescue operation of two American pilots who were downed in Iran during Operation Epic Fury. The two pilots flew an F-15 fighter jet, which Iran shot down last month in the conflict in the Middle East. The second U.S. fighter jet crashed in Iran shortly after, and the pilot was safely rescued. That was an A-10. Uh, the film will tell the story of the two pilots on the Eagle, that's F-15, and will be based on the upcoming book by Michael Zukov, which HarperCollins will publish in 2027, next year. Bay has built a reputation of directing war movies and teaming up with United States military to tell their stories. He is known for directing movies, 13 Hours, and he did, in 2001, he did Pearl Harbor. I've had an amazing partnership over 30 years working with Department of War and amazing U.S. military members. In my film 13 Hours, no rescue force answered the call for help. Yeah, 4 Americans died because of that. This film is about everyone who answered the call in one of the most complex, intricate, and high-stakes operations in recent history and celebrates the true heroism and unwavering dedication of our service members. The timeline for the film and who will star in it has not been disclosed, but it will be released by Universal Pictures. Isn't that cool? You know what? I got more stories to go over, but I'm going to leave that on a high note. That was really good. I can't wait. I've watched Pearl Harbor and 13 Hours more often than you can even count. Okay, maybe more times than there are cattle in Texas. All right. So, hey, if you're trying to get a hold of me or you want to see some of the stuff I publish, you can find me on X at James Pierce Jr. You can find me on Facebook at James A. Pierce Jr. On ScrewTube, you can find me at JP8 Report 67. True Social, James A. Pierce. And I have an email address at jp8report@gmail.com. All right. So don't forget, if you're in Texas, go vote. Go vote. Go vote. Hope y'all enjoyed the day's show. I encourage y'all to hit that like button and hit that follow button. Give me some more followers. And then somehow get in there and start chatting with us. All right. So tomorrow, regular schedule, 6:30 podcast, 6:30 Central podcast, and noon Central podcast for the JP8 report. Also, 9 a.m., I got a breakfast over at Little Tex. Ricky will be there probably, hopefully, and get prepared for the weekend. Remember, Memorial Day is coming, all right? And remember our fallen service members. They gave their life. I think it's been 1.2 million Americans that gave their life in the cause of our country, from the American Revolution to present day. And what is it? Memorial Day is not Veterans Day. It's not Armed Forces Day. It's Memorial Day. And it started out as Decoration Day back right after the Civil War, right? And it morphed into Memorial Day. All right. I'm actually really thinking seriously. I haven't got no response from anyone on it, so I might just go ahead and do that on Monday afternoon after the flights go back to full staff. I'm planning still to go to Central Texas Veteran Cemetery. In Texas, the veteran cemeteries have if you have soldiers or service members that are killed in action, the last 3 or 4 years they've been illuminating the grave sites and leaving the cemeteries open overnight so you can go out there. And at Central Texas Veteran Cemetery, there are 43 killed in action buried there. And if you go in the main gate at night when it's dark, you can stay right there and look over the parts of the cemetery you can see, and you can pretty much see because most of the 43 are buried in the first three sections as you're going in to the cemetery, and you can see their where their grave markers are. It's really heart stopping to see that. And I have a buddy of mine. He's his name is Michael Norman. He was a captain. He was Army. He was an MI officer. He was killed the 31st of January 2008 in Solder City, right on the outskirts of Solder City. He was leaving Fob Loyalty when he got hit by an EFP. You know, the thing that these dastardly uh, Iranians made and gave to the Iraqis. He is buried at Section 1, I think Section 1, uh, grave marker 382, all right? And which is amazing because the National Police Transition Team he was on was 3rd Battalion, 8th Brigade, 2nd National Police Division, 382. They didn't make it like that. It just happened to be like that. All right. So nobody should ever forget where he's buried at. So we go to marker Juliet 382 where he's buried at. All right. And I go there all the time. All right. So thank y'all for letting me rant just a minute ago. He's a really good guy. His sons are with his wife back in South Korea because she's Korean, and his mom had already passed away also. So I go out there sometimes and make sure everything's taken care of. We'll be neighbors one day anyway because I'll be buried out there too. All right. So I will check y'all later. This is James Pierce with JP8 Report. I will see y'all tomorrow morning at 6:30 Central. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out.